Hey guys, it's Mr. Kennedy back with a little video on evolution, and we're going to talk about evidence of evolution. Now, when we talk about evidence of evolution, we have to go to the fossil records. Fossil records show how organisms have changed from over time and how that there are similarities between different organisms. So fossil records are vital in our understanding of evolution, and there's all sorts of types. There is, such as down here in the bottom left-hand corner, down here you can have fossils that have been sealed in amber, which is like tree sap. You can have up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can have petrified fossils. You can have what's called cast or molds, which has probably created a snail down here, which would be like where an organism has died, and as the body's deteriorated, it's been the imprint has been changed or filled with sediment, which eventually develops into rock. You can have imprints, which is like the imprint of a leaf that can be used. Actual bones, the skull here of a hominid, or over here of bones, and you can also have fossils that are found in that have been frozen or maybe in the tar pits or wherever. So the fossil records have been vital to understanding evolution. Now, in 2006, there was a discovery of a fossil that was a major discovery, and it was of an early tetrapod. A tetrapod means an organism that walked on four legs, right? And it was a Tiktaalik. Now, Tiktaalik was considered to be the missing link. It was the animal that um, showed how animals went from the sea to the land. And you can see a picture of it down here. Now, it's believed that it was a tiny creature when there was bigger carnivorous creatures in the ocean or in the water, and it was chasing it, and it only had one choice to avoid these predators, and that was to go to land. And its fins over time developed the ability to move up. So this was a vital discovery in evolution. Now, another example of evolution evidence would be biogeography. Now, biogeography means the geographic distribution of the species. Now, there are similar animals throughout the world, and you can link this to two processes: evolution, but you can also link it to plate tectonics. If the world once had a large continent called Pangaea, then all animals could interbreed, and as they drifted apart, they became unable to interbreed, so that created these separate species of animals, but they would still have similarities because they would have the same DNA, such as the flying squirrel and the sugar glider in Australia and the flying squirrel in North America. There are similarities between these two. So that's the example of evolutionary evidence. Another one would be comparative anatomy. Homologous structures are often used in evolution. Homologous structures would be like, if you look down here, the cat and the human arms. Even though they don't look exactly alike, they have the same bones. If you can look here, these bones correlate. They have the same number of phalanges, etc. So there has to be some type of descent from a common ancestor. And the bones have been modified or adapted to their specific environment. Now, when you look at homologous structures, you have similar structures, similar development. There may be different functions. Maybe used to swim, to fly, to walk, to write, or whatever. But it does show a recent common ancestor. Now, another example would be like leaves. Such as here. You have all these different leaves here that have developed differently, but they're still homologous structures because all these leaves serve similar purposes. Okay. Now, there's also things called analogous structures, which are not used for evolutionary evidence. That would be like the wings of this dragonfly and the wings of this hawk up here at the top. Even though they both are used for flying, that does not show that these two animals are linked evolutionary speaking. It basically shows solving a similar problem in similar ways, but not necessarily show any evolutionary basis. Now, you also have vestigial structures used in evolution. Vestigial structures are structures that are no longer used in the modern day organism. I mean, the best one I can think of is your appendix. Appendix in human beings is no longer of any use, but it had to be of use at some time in our ancestors, or it wouldn't be there. You can also see like eyes in fish that live in a cave. It's disappeared over time. Why? They don't really need the eyes. Or um, another one I like to use is like snakes and whales used to have legs, and it's proven because they have pelvic bones and they have spurs where these legs used to attach, but they no longer have the legs. So that showed that they used to walk at some point. Okay. And there's another evolutionary evidence called comparative embryology, and it's basically looking at the embryos of organisms, and the longer they stay looking similar, the more closely related they are. Such as, if you look over here, the fish and the salamander are probably more closely related than the rest of these because they look similar the longest, right? The human looks most similar to the rabbit, so that's most closely related to the rabbit, which makes sense. They're both mammals, so that's comparative embryology. Now, the best example of evolution is with DNA, molecular biology, and actually seeing how similar our DNA is to others, and then we can say how closely related we are to other species. For example, if you look at this chart over here, humans, all right, if you take our DNA, we have only 8 different amino acids to a rhesus monkey, 27 to a mouse, 45 to a chicken, 67 to a frog, and 125 to a lamprey. So just looking at data, you would probably say that we're most closely related to this rhesus monkey. And that's how molecular biology can be used in evolutionary terms. Now, we use these to build phylogenetic trees which show a common ancestor such as this early primate and how it would branch off and change over time. It shows a divergence from a common ancestor. Now I've got a picture down here in the bottom right which, if you look at it, it looks very similar to the one on the left. The one on the right was actually drawn by Charles Darwin. It's the only illustration he had in the origin of species, and it was his ideas of what the family tree should look like, and a common descent from one ancestor that splits off into a variety of others. So he was right on. Now, we often think of evolution as natural selection, nature selecting which organisms survive. But with today, we have artificial breeding, which we actually control evolution. Like in dogs, for example. Dogs were once the descendants of the wolves, but we bred out aggressiveness maybe, and domesticated these animals. Another one would be descendants of wild mustard. We have cauliflower and asparagus and different things like that, broccoli. So that's artificial selection. Now the last thing I want to talk a bit about natural selection in action. With our use of insecticides and antibiotics today, we're actually causing evolution to occur very rapidly. For example, if you have a population of bugs, such as the one over here on the right, and the population of bugs has been sprayed with some type of insecticide, if you'll notice, 4 of these bugs have this green little DNA segment, and 1 bug has red. For some reason, the red bug was able to survive, and all the other ones died. What's going to happen? The red bugs are going to reproduce, and they're going to pass that on to their offspring, and eventually you're going to have an insecticide resistant strand of this bug. So it becomes less and less effective as we use it. So that's actually natural selection working in modern day. All right, I hope this helps you a little bit, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.